My name is Amelia, and I'm 28 years old. It's hard to pinpoint the exact moment I realized I was trapped. Maybe it was when my brother, Liam, texted me once again, demanding my new phone number after I had clearly changed it 3 times since the last family crisis. Or perhaps it hit me when my mother sent another emotive email, adorned with guilt-ridden phrases about family loyalty. But amidst the chaos, I decided a trip would clear my mind. Maybe if I changed my scenery, I could find a way back to myself. So I packed a small bag and drove west until I found a quaint little cottage nestled by the lake. It was serene, everything I needed to breathe. The air felt light, almost freeing. Checking in, the owner, Charlie, an elderly man with a warm smile and slightly crooked glasses, greeted me. As he led me to the cottage, I couldn't help but feel a little spark of hope creeping in, an unfamiliar sensation that felt like stepping into the sun after years of hiding in the shadows. As I settled in, I noticed a stack of books on the wooden shelf. Mostly classics and travelogues, but one stood out. Quiet, the power of introverts in a world that can't stop talking. I chuckled lightly, recalling how often I had been told that I was too quiet, too reserved in my spirited family of loud, demanding personalities. Maybe finding solace in those pages would help me reconnect with the parts of myself I'd buried deep beneath familial expectations. That evening, as twilight danced across the lake, I began reading. The words swept over me like the gentle summer breeze. The author spoke of finding strength in silence, of understanding one's self in the absence of noise. I closed the book and gazed out at the lake, realizing something profound. My entire life had been molded by everyone else's idea of who I should be. Family dinners turned into battles of will, my mother's expectations shrouding me in layers of what-ifs. Liam had always been the golden child, the one who could do no wrong. I remember the backlash from my parents when I decided to pursue an art career instead of a traditional job. The conversations became confrontations, the love I felt twisted into selfishness. Perhaps this trip would help me reclaim the quiet parts I had silenced in the midst of family drama. After a few days of peace, my phone buzzed with an incoming message that shattered my newfound tranquility. It was Liam. "Amelia, Mom and Dad are worried sick about you. You can't just run away because you're upset. We're family. You need to stop being so dramatic." His words spiraled in my mind. Dramatic. I wasn't being dramatic. I was finding my voice, trying to step out from beneath my family's shadow. I didn't reply, just sat in silence, reflecting on how often I had felt invisible in their presence. The next day, I took a long walk along the lakeshore, my thoughts echoing against the tranquil water. It dawned on me how deeply entrenched their expectations had become. I remember the day I finally stood up to my mother. The confrontation exploded into an argument, showcasing years of pent-up resentment. It had seemed like an emotional floodgate let loose. She called me ungrateful for pursuing a career that didn't fit into her neat little box, words that cut through years of her subtle control. That night, during dinner at the cottage, I picked up the guitar that Charlie had left propped in the corner. I began strumming softly, feeling each note soothe the ache of my heart. Music always felt like home, an art form my family had dismissed as a hobby rather than a career. But in those moments alone, I began weaving melodies and lyrics about liberation, about joining the rebellious art of finding my truest self. Days merged into a rhythm of solitude and self-discovery, each moment spent in the cottage carving out space away from family turmoil. One morning, a knock interrupted my contemplation. It was Charlie. He handed me a small box with a cheeky smile. "Thought you could use a little spark," he said, and left me to reveal my surprise. Inside was an old, worn-out journal. It felt like destiny as my fingers brushed its pages, the scent of time clinging to it. I opened it, writing, pouring my thoughts onto the paper. Each stroke of the pen liberated another piece of the weight I had carried too long, my true voice, the one who had been buried, finding its way back. But even as I leaned deeper into my sanctuary, I couldn't escape the echoes from my past. A week later, another text from Liam invaded my peace. This time, it was urgent. "Are you really going to ignore Mom's health issues? She's been asking about you." I took a deep breath. Their tactics hadn't changed. Guilt was the family weapon. I decided to take a stand. I replied, "I need to take care of myself first. I can't be what everyone wants me to be." Silence followed, leaving me in an unsettling calm, but I sensed his irritation simmering. I could almost hear him typing and deleting his response. Finally, it came through. You'll regret it once it's too late. There it was again, the manipulation. Weeks passed, and I felt newfound strength through each sunrise. I explored the landscape, wrote songs that drew from my deepest fears, and recognized moments of joy for the first time. No longer defined by my family's expectations, I became a woman entirely of my own. But then, just as I began feeling brave, I got a call from my mother. She was crying, claiming to be devastated by my silence. "I just want my family together, Amelia. Please don't make this a bigger deal than it is." That call spiraled into a confrontation where she painted me as the villain, promising to change but ultimately pressed with guilt. It broke my heart not to see her as merely manipulative. But I stood steadfast against her emotional pull. "I love you, Mom, but I need to heal without a constant torrent of demands. I'm sorry it feels this way, but I'm stepping back." In the weeks that followed, I felt both sorrow and strength. My phone buzzed repeatedly, begging for my attention, but I simply ignored it. Each time I did, I felt lighter, unbound from the weight of expectation. As summer flowed into autumn, I returned home, still unsure of how I would navigate the inevitable confrontation. But I realized something. I was no longer afraid to speak my truth, nor did I have to remain at the mercy of my family's emotional ties. One sunny afternoon, my family gathered for a casual barbecue, an attempt at normalcy amidst the storm. My mother treated it as a celebration of reconciliation. As they laughed and shared stories, I felt calm, reflecting on how far I had come. But I had one last thing to say. I stood, silencing the chatter. "I love you all, but it has to be known that my happiness cannot lie solely in your expectations." The room felt still, the laughter fading into vibrations of tension. "Of course," my mother replied defensively. I smiled softly. "I'm pleased we can remain a part of each other's lives, but my growth must not be dependent on your fears. That's who I am now." Liam sighed, though he didn't retort. In that moment, I realized I didn't need their validation. I could love them from a distance without compromising my own spirit. In the following months, I watched as they adjusted, adapting to my independence. Silence began filling the spaces that I once feared would choke me. My art flourished, weaving through each interaction. I felt buoyed by freedom. My old self whispered encouragement with every stride. Sometimes I still wonder about the turbulent waters of family ties. Would they truly understand? I hoped one day they would, but I chose to let go of the weight of those expectations. I may not have all the answers, but I know this. I am no longer defined by the chaos they once brought into my life. And while they may see me as rebellious, I see myself as fiercely independent, creating my own path without looking back. I hold my journal close as a reminder that walking away doesn't mean being heartless. It means knowing your own worth when the world demands your submission. As I sit by the lake now, with the sun setting in a burst of golden hues, I can feel the swirling silence wrapping me in its embrace. Every moment I choose for myself is another step towards a life fully lived, free and unapologetically me. So, how about you? Have you ever had to break away from family expectations to find your true self? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And if Amelia's story resonates with you, don't forget to support this channel by hitting that subscribe button for more emotionally charged narratives.